A court battle is underway over Montana's TikTok ban. 5 content creators are suing the state attorney general. They argue the ban, the first of its kind, violates their First Amendment rights. The governor says he believes the law he signed will protect people's data from the Chinese Communist Party. That's what the governor is saying. If it is upheld, all of the app's users in Montana will no longer have access starting January 1st. It's a big loss for those in the state who make a living from TikTok, like, for example, fashion influencer Kylie Nelson. Take a listen.
I'm not going to lie, I was a little shocked and surprised. It's been in talk for a long time, and especially this past month when they said that it was going to be just state. But when it came to that it's going to be all of us, I was actually pretty shocked.
PEN America is condemning the bill. Director of its U.S. Free Expression Program, Kate Rain, is with me now. Kate, thank you so much for being with us. So many say that this ban obviously violates First Amendment rights, but how justified is the state of Montana in terms of their national security concerns?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And I really appreciate the question. I think that there is sometimes a desire to think that asserting national security concerns gives the government the right to essentially trump the Constitution, but that's not how this has ever worked. So I think that there are two clear problems here. First, it is unclear the degree to which Montana as a state can assert national security interests when it regulates. And second, it's pretty clear that even when the government has national security concerns, they still have to comply with the First Amendment. And in this circumstance, what Montana has done is ban access to an entire speech platform rather than addressing narrowly the problem at hand. They could have taken a much more narrowly tailored approach. The Constitution requires them to take a more narrowly tailored approach. And so it's pretty clear to me that Montana has stepped far beyond its authority, even assuming some of its concerns. And, you know, to a certain degree, we agree some of its concerns are real and should be addressed.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you just brought up there, that as a state, does it have a right to sort of use national security concerns? It's not the federal government, it's a state here. So is there room for compromise, just in terms of not issuing an outright ban, but still perhaps honoring some of the concerns that the state of Montana actually has? What would a compromise look like that's not quite an outright ban?
I mean, to begin with, a comprehensive consumer privacy law would really go a long way towards minimizing the amount of data that TikTok could collect in the first place, preventing TikTok and really any of the other platforms that are out there that are collecting our data every day to engage in their, surveillance advertising business model. A comprehensive consumer privacy law would be able to limit that and therefore limit the degree to which that data could ever be shared legally with any other party. So that would be my first recommendation for certain.
And just in terms of which way you expect this to go, I mean, obviously, Montana expected a legal challenge. You know, they're not stupid. They would have known that this was coming. Obviously, they're prepared for this. Given that, how do you expect this to resolve itself?
Well, at this point, I do think that Montana's law will likely be blocked, or at least I hope it will be blocked by the courts. The previous administration, the previous federal administration had attempted to ban TikTok, and 3 district courts found that activity was probably in violation of the First Amendment, and they blocked it then. So we do have precedent saying that this is not legal. But like even in addition to the constitutional concerns, I'm not even sure how this ban could be implemented. What it essentially does is it requires TikTok and it requires app providers, sort of app store providers, to know whether a person who is accessing their app store or who is attempting to access TikTok, is in Montana or not.
Right.
That is a tremendous amount of surveillance that is going to be imperfect one way or the other. And so in addition to the constitutional concerns, I don't even know how this could technically be implemented.
Right. And just quickly, obviously, it's interesting that Montana is the first sort of state to try to ban TikTok, obviously there have been a number of other policies whereby in certain states it's banned from, for example, government devices. Do you expect other states to try to follow suit here?
That is a deep concern for many reasons. Beginning with, you see the users in Montana who are bringing this lawsuit right now, explaining how this ban is going to harm their expressive rights. It's going to harm their ability to be part of a global conversation. I would be incredibly disappointed to see other states follow in Montana's footsteps, not just for users within those states, but also because pursuing this policy, pursuing a total ban policy, is sort of a gift to authoritarian regimes. It sets an alarming global precedent, lending legitimacy to authoritarian regimes that like to block access to US platforms or prevent, or it shut off the internet entirely when dissent begins within a country. The US has been a leader in condemning that sort of cutting off of access to international communications platforms, and we should not become part of the crowd that engages in censorship when we have legitimate concerns about privacy.
Right. Kate Raine, live for us there. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.